Today's lesson focuses on expository or informational comprehension. Expository text is generally harder to read and understand than narrative stories. This is because expository writing doesn't have a nicely developed story grammar like narrative texts have. Children's schema for expository text develop later than that for narration. Because narrative text is linear, in other words, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, it's generally more predictable than expository text. Expository text has a much greater variety of organizational patterns, and typically young children have not had much experience hearing or reading it. It requires a much more advanced type of thinking because it demands recognition of interaction among facts and ideas. Because the specific content may be unfamiliar, the student has to comprehend new facts, retain them in their memory, and then integrate them with some other facts from the selection or from some other type of schema. Just as story grammar helps with narrative comprehension, the knowledge of text structure helps with expository comprehension. Text structure is the way the author has organized his or her ideas. It may be by listing a series of reasons, by describing a location, or by supplying causes, or by some other technique. Usually the content dictates the text structure. For example, in science texts, both descriptive and explanatory passages are necessary to explain, for example, what an anteater looks like and how he gets his food. Knowledge of text structure helps the reader by focusing attention on individual ideas, providing a clearer view of the relationship among ideas, and acting as a framework to aid retention of information. The 6 most common types of text structure in expository text are enumeration description. This is a listing of details about a subject without any cause-effect or time relationship among them. Time sequence is another structure which is similar to enumeration, however here a time order is specified. Explanation process is the 3rd type of text structure. An explanation tells how something works and steps in the process are stressed. An example of this is a passage about how a bill becomes a law. The next type of structure is comparison contrast. This structure presents differences and/or similarities. For example, students can compare and contrast different types of food or discuss the differences and similarities between teammates and opponents. The 5th structure is problem solution. Here, a statement of a problem is followed by a possible solution or series of solutions. And last is cause and effect. This structure presents an effect along with a single cause or a series of causes. So, when reading expository text, students need to activate 2 kinds of schema: prior knowledge about the topic and knowledge of text structure. Teachers need to model for students how to figure out what the author's structure is and allow them time to practice finding it on their own. One of the best ways to teach expository structure is simply to have students read a variety of expository material. This can include periodicals, trade books, content area textbooks, sets of directions, and any other real-world materials. Of course, direct instruction in the recognition of text patterns is also helpful. Questions play a central role in facilitating comprehension. They can be used to develop concepts, build background, clarify reasoning processes, and lead students to higher level thinking. The request procedure is a very simple device to get students to read carefully and interact with their content area texts. It was originally designed for one-on-one instruction, but has been successfully adapted for both small group and whole class instruction. This technique is especially effective with lower achieving readers. In requests, the teacher and the student take turns asking questions of each other about the text. Students really enjoy reversing roles and asking questions. Once you've gotten enough information about the passage you just read, it can then set the purpose for reading the next portion or the remainder of the text. For example, after students and teacher have answered all of their questions, you can ask, what do you think the rest of the chapter will be about? Students really enjoy it when you make it into a type of competition between you and them. It's often called Stump the Teacher, and it works like this. Both you and the students carefully read a selection from your text, or it can even be a supplementary material. It can either be a paragraph or a longer section or an entire chapter. The text should be fairly dense with facts so that the students can ask a number of questions. Students can make up as many questions as they wish and should be told to ask the kinds of questions that you would ask, in other words, not just the literal ones. Once the questions have been written, students ask their questions. The teacher's book is face down, although the students may refer to their texts if necessary. After students ask questions, it's your turn. Pupils' books are now face down when you ask your questions. You might model higher level questions by asking for responses that require students to integrate details from different parts of the text. Now, here's the competition part. Students get points when they stump you and ask a question that you can't answer. Likewise, points get taken away from them when you ask a question that they can't answer. You can give students something special, like no homework that night, or extra free minutes in class, or an extra 5 minutes of recess, if they can earn a certain number of points. And likewise, if they can't answer your questions and the points are in your column, then they have consequences, such as extra homework assignment or whatever you think is fair. All of my students who have tried this strategy have said that students are so eager to stump their teachers that they really read the passage carefully. Questions can be composed individually or by tables or small groups, and the points can be accumulative over a few days or even a week. Be creative. It's really fun, and you'll be surprised at how much your students will interact with their text and how carefully they will read.